Hey world, welcome back to another episode of Be Inspired Podcast where we're inspiring you to live the abundant life you deserve. I got another awesome guest on the line. His name is Michael, lives in South Florida, owns two therapy practice down there in South Florida and one in Hollywood and one in Miami. So, fun fact about Michael, me and him went to college back in 2016 together, grad school, and we end up meeting again on a Spartan race field randomly. And at first we didn't recognize each other, but after a while I was like, I know this guy from somewhere. And then it finally clicked that we went to the social work program together. And now he's doing great things. He owns Ji4Life. He's the founder, which helps people with empowers kids and teens with physical challenges to compete in extreme races like Spartans, ultra marathons. So they do weekly trainings and wellness programs at the Jewish Leadership Academy in South Florida. So if you're down there, go check them out. He's also a dedicated athlete himself. He's been in the CBS Million Dollar Mile, a two-time American Ninja Warrior semifinalist, and a competitor on the Amazon Prime Beast Games. Give it up for Mike. He lives in Florida with his wife and child. Hey, Michael, you're doing a lot of awesome things.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for hosting this platform for people to be inspired. What a wonderful thing.
Thank you, man.
Look at you
Thank
doing
you.
amazing things.
Yeah, man, we both are, man. I'm impressed by this American Ninja Warrior. How was that experience for you, man?
American Ninja Warrior was incredible. It was terrific. And there's a lot of lessons there, just a lot of storylines that happen. And I'll delve in, I'll try to say it quickly. But I get on the first year. Basically, kids in my nonprofit wanted me to compete for them. And because they inspired me so much, I wanted to, kind of try to inspire as much as I can for them because they're just incredible human beings. It's hard to do. They're heroes in my eyes. First year I go and the balance obstacle always trips up the beginner, the beginner dudes. And so the second year we go, they invite me back graciously.
Okay.
And from there, we made it all about the kids in the nonprofit. I fundraised just enough to get them out there, give them first class, trip out to California. Ninja allowed them to come and film, and made it all about them trying to get their stories out. And
Yeah.
then some drama, blah, 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 like that was terrible. The drama, right, is basically not expecting. First time in 17 years it rained in California, pushing production into Friday night. And I'm Sabbath observant and Orthodox Jew. So I decided I don't compete on Friday to Saturday from sundown to sunset,
Okay.
and to honor the Sabbath. And you know, didn't make the final cut. The parents and the kids in my nonprofit were very hurt because we wanted to share their stories.
Yeah.
When the families went public with it, and a lot of good came out of people rallying around to realizing, you know, uh, it was an opportunity that, I gave up for Sabbath, but the kids just couldn't get out there. So I'm so grateful for you to allow me to share the stories of these incredible heroes that really just uh, are incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible is not the word. That show us all how to live and how to overcome and how to honestly be connected with one another.
Right. See, so that must have been really challenging knowing that you weren't able to compete and then the children weren't able to share their stories overall, you know?
That's what stung the most for me. I'm happy, I'm okay. I don't need that I yeah. And for the kids, it was very so that's what stung. And then fast forward to Beast Games where it happened to
Mhm.
me again,
Jeez.
where I had to give up for Sabbath again because production went into Friday.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me, It is what it is. Everything's meant to be. It's fine. But yeah, the kids' stories, that was a little rough to swallow. However, the other side of the mountain, the sunshine, is directed us in a way to focus more on the kids and focus more, not needing to be on TV shows for them, focus on being there for them rather than,
Yeah.
yes, we would love for people to be inspired by them, but
Yeah.
one step at a time, as we
True.
say.
100%.
Yeah.
So to start it off, I know that you've done a lot of races, you've done a lot of Ninja Warrior, a lot of physical activities with a lot of people, but how did you get here? So I know you started in college. What transpired between the time you got out of college? Because I know you never wanted to be a nonprofit. So how did you get here?
How do you know that? Did we talk about that in college? I can't remember. And yeah, I never saw myself seeing it being in a nonprofit. So much so that my internship was at Public Allies. So funny how everything works. Public Allies was under Catalyst Miami, and it was taking, kids and trying to um, make them leaders of through the nonprofit world and programming to empower our youth to be leaders in the nonprofit world. And that was my internship in college. And I remember thinking, like, never going to need this skill. And here I am, using every single piece of information that I learned from there. So life is a journey, and you always got to be conscious and aware that you'll go anywhere. Basically, as a psychotherapist and as being a pro Spartan racer, I wanted to combine the two strengths of those things. Psychotherapy, very focused on environment, right? I mean, one of the things how you want to impact someone is what's their environment, or can you change your environment? Not everything, but a very big part of it.
Yeah.
And then I go to Spartan racing, and Spartan racing, especially on the elite level, is about, how you can get over obstacles and how fast you can, right? It didn't matter about how fast you can run. It matters if once you get off the obstacle, how can you recover your heart rate fast enough to get back to, your pace of type of thing. So it was those two mindsets that I realized can be a beautiful catalyst, beautiful rainbow for the kids in our nonprofit, these kids who go through these challenges day in and day out, right? They're going to hospitals regularly. Their parents are going all these challenges, and they do it with such a smile.
Yeah.
And to give them the environment and the opportunity to share their superpowers, to handle, as you witnessed, 15, 20 foot walls
Yeah.
and and all these things, and realize, that they had it in them, and we all have it in us. We just need the right people, right environment, and the right, love around all of us. So that's how it kind of started. I feel like started that way
Hmm.
through understanding those two worlds and then just combining them together. And it's grown a lot since really recognizing how important it is to create. Like, we're not an organization or a community, and what that means, and what things you have to do to create a wonderful community.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was one of the most challenging portions of creating it? I know merging it together was sounds like it would have been a challenge. So how did you merge it together?
So the biggest challenge, I'm grateful for this question because I don't think I've really ever shared this piece, is making sure our identity for the nonprofit can stay and handle the world, meaning not making it about money, not making it about, views, not making it about, all these things are fine and all these things are wonderful. I understand the nonprofit world, and everyone's got to, do what they have to do, especially for the greater good of helping people. Terrific. But to make it first and foremost about the kids in the nonprofit, starting there and recognizing that emotional and physical resources has to go there first. And then if it overflows, then okay, we can start focusing on the other things. But to make sure that they're always have our attention, as all of us want in life, but these kids deserve it and I don't know, need it, but definitely is more helpful, in the circumstances that they go through. Because they don't need us. They're terrific. It's something funny. I say to kids, I say to people who come, and they're all excited and they're ready, and they're like, "Okay, Michael, how can I help?" And it's like such wonderful energy. And I'm like, Thank you for your excitement. Ever, you should know that you're not the ones helping the kids. The kids are the ones helping you."
Mhm.
They're the ones that are gonna change your life. You might assist them physically on a Spartan course as you did,
Yeah.
but your perspective will change, and your life will be a lot different.
I agree with perspective change for sure because you see it on TV where there's people that have disabilities that are doing amazing things. But to witness it on a personal level is a different feeling. Because when I was out there on the track, it was just seeing everybody just cheer him on, cheer Ari on, cheer us on, doing everything to help him get through the obstacle was a different feeling. It wasn't just, oh yeah, he did it on the video, but no, it was right there in person and witnessing it. So it even gives me goosebumps now talking about it because it was just so inspiring. Because man, what's your excuse? You know?
Yeah, yeah, and also it's very interesting, we don't know the impact that we make, right? For example, you see Ari and his physical challenges, right? And so you give him that energy and love. However, this is, I think, it hits home for a lot of people. There's what's called invisible challenges, invisible disabilities. Brandon was out there on the course too, and he's one of our athletes as well. And what he accomplished was incredible, and most people missed it.
Yeah.
you know, because it's not, there. So it's always important to make sure that you're attentive to those beautiful moments, to recognize everybody's journey, to recognize what people go through, and even people watching REI when being that inspired to know that people go through so many hardships in life, for them to see not even Ari, for them to see so many people come around him, right? So many people come around Brandon for all of us to be together. Harley was there. Just a team effort for people to witness on the side who didn't answer the call to see your group come. We never had met you, and we were just stuck. And instead of giving up and moving on to the next thing, we turned to the people around us and said, hey, anyone, we need the help. This is how we go through life. You need people around you. Something in my practice that I've seen is fascinating. And I don't know if you see this, but when, not in a judging way, but
Yes.
understanding when people go through hardships, recognizing which person can go through the hardships that they are facing. And the judgment, the recognition that I realize is who are the people around them.
Yeah.
Do they have a support system that's ironclad, and have they used that support system in the past? Because then you're like, they can handle this. You know what I mean? It might not be pretty, it might be tough, it might be this and that, but they can handle it. Somebody who doesn't have that support system, you're like, "Oh, boy, they're gonna
What's more
feel it and
challenging?
might not even overcome it." And there's a risk in not having a support system. So a lot of times in therapy, I think a lot of therapists talk about making sure people have the right people around them, but we a lot of times, miss that step,
Yeah.
making sure that person is ready type of thing.
Yeah, and especially with not just therapy, also in substance use as well. Because if you're still around the same people, you're gonna end up back out there again, using again. So it's in all facets of
Right.
life, I think, that you just have to surround yourself with people that are gonna lift you higher.
And also through substance abuse, they're so used to that support system. They're going to lose everyone a lot of times because that whole bond is usually through the substances.
Yeah.
A lot of times, not always.
Yeah.
Obviously, your family's always there for you and things like that, we hope. So the whole thing with the race, this race that we did was wild. I don't know if you know the context. We already done 10 other Spartan races, done three
Okay.
other Disney races, half marathon, four, I think
Wow.
four Disney races. We became a Disney charity recently, and we love Disney, and it's so great for the kids. And then we've just done all these different types of challenges, races, and the super was the furthest we've ever gone. It was the most we've ever done,
Okay.
especially with the fewest amount of teammates that we ever had. It was really so inspiring to see your group come out
Yeah.
and really like work and battle, and come into Ari's world for a glimpse, for a little second. He can't say no, right?
Yeah.
In the context of like when we are all tired up there, on the walls and everything, you have to go through it. Meaning when Ari has to go to a hospital visit, there's no, I don't want to. you got to, and it was fascinating that your group answered the call.
Yeah.
I have a question too. What made all of you? Was it instinctive, or you had to think about it? What happened that all of you just decided to hop on?
So the group he's talking about is Iron Sharpen Iron. Shout out to those guys. It's my cousin Tony, Michael, Gerard,
Thank
all
you.
you guys. I appreciate you guys. We created this group and we just decided to do the Spartan race. And we want to make it into something where guys are just holding guys accountable. So we I think I initially saw you guys pull him up over the the one that was, like, 3 bars down, but you had to
Bender.
yeah, that one. So, I saw him, I was like, "Alright, let's go help," because I saw you guys needed help, so I was like,
You
"Alright,
did.
I'll go help." And then so I help, and then Tony jump in, Gerard jump in, and then we just stuck it through with you guys, got him over that one. Then we got to the next wall and got you guys over that one. And then from there it was like little obstacles where you guys had it, and then we dipped off, and then we finished our race and met up again and came back and helped. So it was
At the
just
slip wall. At the slip wall.
yeah, the slip wall. Yeah.
It's fascinating how one little act, it's always interesting when, especially around kids, when when you ask a question, a group, and one wants to answer, even though like 15 people have the answer, and then that one person does it, and then it's just a cascade of questions, and it's always interesting psychologically, right? The fear that we all have, and it's just very simple, of, hey, let's make one step, and one step can, have an avalanche of impact.
And to be honest, that has been one of the most inspiring moments in the race. Yeah, we finished the race and it was fun, it was good, but that stick with me for long after. It was just the feeling, the inspirational feeling, the helping someone. It was just that solidified for me. Yes, me and my team finished. We did the push up, went the extra mile, but that would always be a memory in my head because it was a moment of inspiration and seeing somebody go through resilience, be a bigger person, be the person that most people want to be, you know?
And it's interesting because it's so interesting. Most people want to be. Uh, I don't know if most people know who they are. you know,
Man.
uh, enough to allow themselves to be inspired.
Yeah.
And it's something interesting that I'm seeing. One of the steps for the nonprofit is, right, focusing just on the kids, right? And to this point, we've now had a good baseline where we know what we're doing as far as being the environment and letting the environment be an ecosystem where everyone helps each other, and eventually we kind of lay back and watch the flower bloom. And however, we're also recognizing the responsibility to inspire others with the incredible heroes that we have and the incredible things that we do. Well, they do. I just sit back and watch, sometimes cry with how incredible it is to see what they can accomplish. And that's led us to trying to do more events to bring people into their worlds, because one of the things is that for the nonprofit, try to keep it very tight knit as a family, right? Whoever we bring in, they have to want to be there. They kind of have to like work their way in to our community, because we really are so also close and
Yeah.
also protective of each other. And so, however, we need to also inspire, right? We also need to bring people in some extent to see the kids. So we've recently been doing all these events. Now we have upcoming and all these wonderful things. But one of the things is to do that super and to challenge ourselves to do something that we never thought we could do. Because supers are a next level with an athlete in a wheelchair, with an athlete with physical challenges.
Yeah.
Sprints are doable. The super was rough.
Yeah. A lot more obstacles.
Obstacles, we it's so funny because we had done an obstacle. I posted a video about this because I wanted to try to be somewhat vulnerable with the nonprofit, because we're always learning on how to be safe for the athletes. An obstacle that we would overcome all the time, right? We got there, and whether we were exhausted, whether our communication broke down because of exhaustion, whatever, we had safety procedures in place, but we didn't get over it. we ended up getting stuck on it was, the inverted wall,
Mhm.
and we, just ended up, moving on, and it showed, that not always do you have it. You just have to take your medicine and learn the next time and get better from it. So
Yeah.
it was trying to inspire, but also grow. Yeah, these kids are so inspirational, and the stories I have just of what they've accomplished in the world is unbelievable. We had a girl and we were doing a Disney race, and she had done it, by the way, with cancer. She did a Spartan race. It was Central Florida. Had the IV bag, and got over 4 or 5 obstacles.
Wow.
When we had a bus go, she couldn't she crawled up the stairs of the bus. Fast forward, by the way, she beat cancer because she's incredible and her mindset's unbelievable. And then her first race back from cancer, not really trained, not really whatever, um, the Disney race at mile 10, was exhausted. And I said, let's sit on the side. Let's take a breather and then we'll come back. And she said, if I sit, I'm not going to finish. She's like, we have to keep moving. And so she said, take my hand. I'm going to close my eyes and tell me when we're there. And, I grabbed her hand and we just went like this. And she, just closed her eyes and we guided her for 2 miles. And then finally she ran the last mile.
Oh,
So it's recognizing and being aware. I think something interesting about your podcast, it's inspiration, right? And I had said a minute ago about we have to know ourselves.
yeah.
I think it's important to recognize that there's inspiration everywhere. And we have to really work so hard on ourselves to be aware of that. We get so autopiloted, we get so pulled, right? We have 8,000 advertisements a day that get to
Yeah.
us. Right? Can you imagine what people are trying to tell us, what their missions are, what they want to sell us? You're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss the inspiration. It's every day. I bet you can find 3 or 5, moments of inspiration, and we just miss it. So it's on all of us to not miss Ari and say, let's go help and have that big inspiration thing, and to try to look for the stories, the guys like Brandon out there, and get to know people, to know what their stories are, to be inspired and connect and love. Yeah, and
Okay.
love those moments and allow yourself to be the better person because that you get inspired so that way you can help others.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, say that somebody wants to build a nonprofit and grow something like what you've created or something similar, doesn't have to be with children with disabilities. What advice would you give them?
So grateful for that question. And even if one person gets, inspired by this or takes the information, because the one message I would say is kind of the message that I gave before, which is make sure to surround your nonprofit with the right people. Whether that's the board, if you can afford this, whether and not financially, I'm saying just in general, because boards are built certain ways, and depending on how you want to do it, surround yourself with the right people that you might not even that might be hard nosed, right? Not the messages you want to hear that someone might say to you, hey, I have people around me that are like, this is not about the kids. I'm like, oh, I thought it was. No, you're rationalizing it. Oh, right. Wow, let me rethink this. And then obviously seeing, the mistakes we all make. We're humans. Surrounding yourself with the right people. I have a story, I have a fun story
Go ahead.
that someone offered to fundraise $1 million for me. And I had this meeting and I was like, wow, that's very nice. And then immediately I went, rightfully so. I said, what do you want? And the person said, well, obviously to be on the board. And that's not an unreasonable thing. I'm not bagging anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if I call, we're a happy organization really, and I said, our currency isn't that. Our currency, you get on the board by, are you willing to drive 2 hours to pick up the kid who's going to miss out on the race? Are you willing to call, a kid who is in a depression, try to encourage them to get to one of our workouts, to sit there and on one of our events and say, how are we going to make this fundraiser that we have to do, but let's all sit together for an hour or two and figure out how to make it meaningful. So that way when people leave a fundraiser, they're at least a better person than when they left, or at least had the opportunity to be. So starting a nonprofit is about surrounding the right people and knowing who you are, because if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're going to want for the nonprofit.
Yeah.
So you need to have that message ironclad. Like you have to be able to to debate it and be able to defend it with the most critical person type of thing. And yeah, I think surround yourself, know who you are so you know your mission, and enjoy every moment. Don't try to go to the bigger pictures very hard in a nonprofit because you're trying to prove product, which is, I don't think technically right, but I understand it. That it's about impacting people. That could be with a smile. That could be, you know, uh, if the smallest thing. A lot of small things make the bigger. You don't have to go for the big fundraisers or the big stories.
So mostly impact versus income.
It's a hard one because you also have to, people tell me all the time, well, we have to fundraise in order to, impact people. Yes and no, depending on what your goals are. And it's a hard one for me because I always try to find balance. I don't want to go one or the other, you
Yeah.
know. And there is a balance out there depending on what your goals are or what your who you are, you know. There's always a balance. Those resources tend to find you. It's just that you rush it along, if that makes sense. I like to bring God into it, but even spirituality and the way the world works or energies, when you try to rush it because you want control and you want the thing that you think will make it better or good, that you're trying to control the situation.
Yeah.
We've been around for 6 years, not until the last 2 years, and money start coming in,
Mm.
from the most random shit. I
Yeah.
can't believe it. It's like the most random stuff, and it's wonderful and beautiful. So there's always a plan. It always will end up. It might not. You might want it or need it to come in the first year or two, but it might be 10 or 15 years down the line, and you got to deal. You got to make the impact with the resources and information that you have.
Yeah. Okay. You said something 3 times on this podcast since you've been here. And I want you to dive a little bit deeper into it because you said a person has to know who they are. How do you recommend them finding who they are?
To the question as well, because I've said that, and you're pushing me, and hopefully I've done enough to be able to explain it. I think it's just a couple things, but the main thing I would say, start asking yourself questions. How does anyone gather information? Gotta ask questions. And that's to yourself. And it's not like, oh, once a week or when you're high or what I mean? You
Don't do it
know,
when you're
it,
high.
whatever. I'm not judging. But it's every day, day in and day out. It's kind of like, when you never see a red car until you're getting a red car, and then you see a red car everywhere, right? So it's the same thing with questions, asking questions, even asking who am I every day, and letting that float in and out of your day allows you to build that. The second is to look. You tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. Well, what environment have you put yourself in, and is that the environment you want to stay in? Because you're going to inevitably become your environment and the people around you to some extent, at least 30%, you're going to pick up on. And the third thing is, are you, thing that I came up with this. The third thing is, are you aiming from a negative, or most of your energy or perspectives negative or positive? And I think if you're going from if a lot of the times you are being negative, I think you're not who you are, and or who you want to be. And if you're firing from a positive frequency rather than a negative one, you might be there or getting there. You're never really there, but was that fair? Did that make sense?
Yeah. Finding who you are, asking yourself those questions, whether you're
It's
high.
hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard work every day. Holy
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah. Because we're always evolving, you're always learning, you're always growing, you're always getting to a different version of yourself. If you're willing to ask yourself those questions.
There's not one day that's identical.
Yeah. So we're coming to a close. So Any last minute things that you want to share with our audience?
It's now more of a promotion, and I think this is the balance, is if you want to it's nice to inspire. When I was on Million Dollar Mile. I was, one of 4 winners on the CBS Million Dollar Mile, and I won 25,000. That's where I started the nonprofit with a lot of the money, and I realized, like, on the show, it was very nice to be inspiring, but then you gotta actually go out and do things.
Yeah.
If it's not us, whoever you are listening, in the next week or 2, try to go do something inspiring, or next 6 months, try to go do something inspiring for somebody else. You be the inspiration for the person. And if you can't find that, we have a DECA event in February for a nonprofit where you can come and compete and see the kids there. We run through Disney if you ever wanted bibs, and then May 24th, just confirmed a couple of days ago, we're going to do a 5K called the Superhero 5K because the kids in our nonprofit are superheroes. So
Okay.
yeah, but more importantly, go be the inspiration for other people and figure out how to do that. And then, by the way, that answers another answer with who you are. If you can be inspiring to other people, then I think you might have done enough work to know who you are because you're doing that for other people. Not always. Maybe that logic doesn't make sense. I don't know.
Next times you're gonna be in Disney again.
Disney, we're doing April 19th is the springtime race,
Okay.
and then we're doing Wine and Dine in November.
Okay.
And a lot of times for ourselves, so we fundraise for the bibs for anybody who wants. For our that subsidizes what we do. We do a wellness retreat that we have like ice baths and saunas and meditations and breathwork classes and all those things that weekend for the kids in our nonprofit and the families. And we're also very focused on trying to impact the families of our nonprofit. And then that culminates with the 10 miler and the half marathon.
Nice.
Yeah.
So my last question for you before we get out of here is I always ask this one because I think it's a great one. What is one thing that you thought I would ask, but I didn't ask you?
A great question. There's one thing that you thought I would ask that you didn't ask me. Nothing. I think how it is how it is, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm appreciative that we met. Maybe okay. Maybe how bizarre it is that we're here in this moment after you don't race for Spartan a while. That we don't keep that we went to college and that now we're here on a podcast talking about being inspiring for the world. That is incredible and wonderful and just wild that you of all people would be helping us through a 15, 20-foot obstacle, getting Ari over this thing. It's just the not more of the question of asking me, is more of the just brilliance of how the world works that we connected. After all those years, do you know how many other classmates I don't know where they are?
I know. There's so
Have
many.
you met any other classmates?
Recently, no, no, just a little group that we had, and I haven't talked to besides on Facebook. I have some of our
Sure.
classmates on Facebook and Instagram, but besides that, no, not in person.
Yeah, and that doesn't really count, Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna say it's a little unfortunate, myself included, that we can't in society stay connected. I know Facebook was supposed to be that solution, but I think it actually has made it worse because it used to be if you wanted to keep with somebody, you'd have to call them once in a while.
yeah,
You'd have to go see them. You'd have to make actual effort. And now it's like, happy birthday.
yeah, yeah.
And it
And
was
then
like
you
supposed to
message
be
people, and they're like waiting for you to ask, "What do you want?" You know?
right, exactly. What do you want out of this? Not like, hey,
Hey, we've been friends
you're
for
doing amazing
forever.
today. You know, I do that sometimes. I send myself text messages randomly being like, you're doing great. Don't worry about it. But if you get that from somebody else, it's like, whoa, that's weird.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're
This was
welcome, Michael.
wonderful.
I appreciate you coming on, sharing your experience, sharing your knowledge, and we'll definitely stay connected. You come up here to South Florida to Central Florida to Disney. I'll come out there and join you guys again, just to feel
A
and
hun-
support.
100%. I am gonna say this. I just want to make sure that I get this out there because I can't believe it took me so long. I just wanted to give background for everybody for Ari. Ari has trisomy 9 mosaic, which is 0.01% chance of living or walking past his first birthday. And I said this at the Spartan of these guys. His mother, every time he gets up on one of these crazy obstacles, his mother, pictures the doctor in the corner in the office throwing his notes down saying this is impossible. So inspiration is really about recognizing the impossible, and seeing what people are able to accomplish. So thank you so much for sharing that piece so people can be inspired by Ari because he doesn't let anything stop him, even this trisomy 9 mosaic. It doesn't stop him from living his best life, as I hope everyone does. Live their best life. We only get one.
Right? And living your best life and overcoming obstacles, life obstacles, you know?
Yeah, we all have them. A friend of mine told me that Eddie Casper on my board. He goes, life is easy to no one ever." And it's wonderful and it's beautiful and it's incredible. It doesn't have to be you don't have to like it. It could be painful,
Mm-hmm.
could be annoying, but when you have people around you, it makes it inspiring and loving
Yeah.
and all worth it.
They say if you do what's easy, your life would always be hard. But if you do what hard,
Mm.
your life would always be easy.
Love that. Thank you for that. I mean, technically not because you're still doing the hard stuff, but the after effect is easy.
Yeah. 100%.
I know what you're saying though. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, Michael, we'll catch up another time. I appreciate you coming on and you be safe. All right. Again, thank you guys all for coming on. I want to thank all the subscribers for showing up, all the if you like this episode and if I said anything or if Michael said anything that resonate with you, go ahead and share your comments below. I also want to give a shout out to Creative Dream Collective. They complete our flyers, they do our some of our videos and stuff. So just shout out to her and her thing. It's all gonna be linked up here. How to connect with Michael is gonna be linked up. So go ahead and connect with him and see how you can be a part of GI for Life. All right. Peace out.